This is my favorite one out of the three. Why am I not doing a first impressions video about this movie? Because I know right away that I am not changing my mind about it. It is Showtime, a-holes. There will be spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, you might want to stop the video here. So before I share my further opinions about the movie, I just want to point out that Forbes and many other industry experts labeled the original Guardians of the Galaxy as Marvel's folly, as the movie that was going to end the success streak of the studio and lead them into a very quick and early bankruptcy, as they were spending blockbuster movie money. They were giving this movie a big, epic budget, even though it didn't have any major characters, even though Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't what they referred to as a valuable IP. There was no way Marvel was going to recover financially from the release of the original Guardians of the Galaxy movie. However, it was Marvel's first test as to whether their formula legitimately worked, because making movies based on characters and comics and properties, for that matter, that are known, that have a built-in audience is one thing, but when it's an obscure property like Guardians, even though the Guardians comic in 2009 did have an loyal fan base, but it wasn't a very big fan base, at least not one that would warrant your traditional movie adaptation. So the fact that that first Guardians movie succeeded, and then it went on to have two more sequels, and for the Guardians to be an integral part of this massive franchise, is, in my opinion, Marvel Studios' greatest flex, their ultimate flex. So there you go. So James Gunn was offered the opportunity to write and direct the first Guardians movie, thanks to, believe it or not, Joss Whedon. Is one of the really good things that came out of Whedon's involvement during Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They were colleagues, they knew each other. The character Charles Gunn from Angel is named after James Gunn, believe it or not. And however, in spite of getting this amazing opportunity, the first time in his career where he's directing a massive, big budget movie, he was still very hesitant to take the job. And his issue was that how was this talking raccoon going to fit into this massive action adventure superhero world? So when he first came onto the project, one of his first hurdles that he wanted to get over in pre-production was making sure that Rocket Raccoon felt like a living, breathing character, which thankfully the special effects wizards at ILM put his worries to rest. But in the process of that, James Gunn fell in love with the character of Rocket Raccoon and came up with his entire 3-movie arc during this time, and knew from the beginning that the events of Volume 3 is where the Guardians were always headed. Something that was confirmed by Bradley Cooper when he first came onto the movie to voice Rocket Raccoon. Among the discussions that he had with James Gunn told him Rocket's entire story from his origin all the way to the events of this film. And Bradley was blown away that pretty much 75% of what James told him came to fruition, very much as he told it to him. So Rocket was always a key figure in this franchise. While most people dismiss him as a secondary comic relief character or the mascot of the team, something isn't his pivotal nature, something that I always noticed and loved about the character, and it's the reason he is one of my top 3 favorite MCU characters, right up there with Doctor Strange and Jessica Jones. So, some of you might say, oh, E-Rod, this is your favorite one out of the 3 because it focuses on your favorite character from the franchise. To those people, I say, duh. But at the same time, it's a really good movie. So if it's the favorite out of the 3 to people to whom Rocket is not their favorite character, that doesn't surprise me at all, because it is ridiculously well made. Anyway, so let me just go over the negatives of the movie. And they're very minor, but there are some. Let me just go over the negatives real quick. There's just a few, so we can get to the good stuff, because there's a lot of good stuff. So I condensed my negatives into 3, and again, they're not that bad. The first one being that this is the first Guardians movie where they get to wear the blue uniforms like they wear in the comics. And in my humble opinion, them putting on those blue suits for the first time ever in the franchise should have come with a bit more pomp and circumstance, in my opinion. It felt very a matter of fact when they were on their way to find a solution to save Rocket, and they just casually put on the suits, and no major focus was drawn to it. To me, that was a really, really important moment. They have become a unit. They're all wearing matching uniforms. It should have been a bigger moment in the movie, in my opinion. My second negative is in reference to a complaint that I've heard a lot, which is a very misguided complaint, and it's the portrayal of Adam Warlock in the movie. People complaining that he is this big man baby, as opposed to the very zen space wizard that he is in the comics, this intergalactic David Bowie-like sorcerer. Also, the fact that the Guardian's new ship is called the Bowie, that detail is not lost to me. Well, newsflash to those people who are complaining about Adam Warlock not being portrayed correctly in the film. When Adam Warlock first appeared in the comics way back in the late 60s, he acted like a big man baby because he came out of his cocoon, his pod, too early, like he did in the movie. He didn't know anything about the world, so he behaved like a child in the body of a man. The body of a man that has incredible superhuman abilities. So he didn't actually become the super sexy space wizard until the 70s. And then a lot of the aspects that we associate to the character still didn't come until the 80s. So there you go. Minor negative. I view the portrayal of Adam Warlock in this movie the same way that I view the portrayal of America Chavez in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It's their first appearance. They signed, those two actors, Cecile Gomez and Will Poulter, they signed Marvel Studios contracts. That means they are obligated to appear in multiple films, maybe between 4 to 6 films. I know that sounds like a lot, but some of them probably might be supporting roles or cameos. So trust me, it's not as much as it sounds. Point is, they're going to be in multiple movies. These are their first appearances. You shouldn't judge a character's entire trajectory based on their first freaking appearance. Anybody who's a comic book fan knows that 90% of all comic book characters are rarely the same in their first appearance as to what they end up becoming. And same thing goes with these movies. I am sure that if we see Adam Warlock in future movies, he will become the glam space wizard that we know him as. Same thing with America Chavez. I'm sure there are plans, more plans for that character. We will see her in future movies, and she will become the toughest nails, badass, independent, superpowered lesbian that we know and love. And the third negative that I must address is this is a personal one for me. I always felt that the franchise should end, or at least have a bookend moment where all the Guardians dance together. Because the franchise starts with Star-Lord dancing alone. And I always felt, okay, at the end, the way they bookend this is we see all of them dancing together for fun. And at the end, there is a dancing moment, but it's just Rocket, Groot, Drax, and Nebula. And I felt like that should have had everybody in it, everybody dancing together. Again, a minor thing. It would have just been, in my opinion, the perfect bookend for the franchise, but that's just my opinion. Again, minor negatives. Let's talk about the good stuff. I don't know if this was done by accident or by design, but I'm gonna compliment it anyway if it was by accident. I thought that the use of Gamora in this movie was genius because there's a lot of people who jump in to watch these sequels without watching the previous movie, and Gamora worked as the perfect surrogate for those people because this version of Gamora is new to everything. She's experiencing the Guardians and their adventures for the first time. So she inadvertently works as this perfect audience surrogate for those nincompoops that walk in to watch part 3 without seeing parts 2 and 1, which makes no sense to me, but it happens. So that I noticed and I appreciated. Again, if it was by accident, it was by accident, but I enjoyed it. So I want to take a moment and compliment the hell out of Bradley Cooper for his voiceover work in this movie. He's always been great as Rocket Raccoon. Love him. Like I said, Rocket is one of my favorite MCU characters. I've always appreciated how good of a job Bradley Cooper does as the character. And as a fan of voiceover work, I admire and respect how good he is at doing voiceover. But this is the first movie where he was given a lot of heavy material, a lot of dramatic scenes to portray, and he did a spectacular job. I saw kind of a joke tweet online yesterday where somebody said that he deserves an Oscar for his performance as Rocket Raccoon in this movie, and I agree that he at least deserves a nomination, because he went above and beyond this movie. If there was any doubt that this man is an extraordinary actor, I think I think we can all agree he's a good actor, but he's an extraordinary actor, an extraordinary voice actor. Those doubts were put to rest with his performance in this movie. So a hero is only as good as his villain, and Rocket was given the ultimate adversary, the ultimate antagonist in this movie. In the grand tradition of the Guardians having shitty dads, and from the makers of Ego, the Living Planet, and Thanos, the Mad Titan, here comes the High Evolutionary, played by the extraordinary Chukwudi Onwuaji. Amazing actor, big fan. Like I said, did an amazing job, but maybe, just maybe, he did too good of a job, because this is the first MCU villain who I wanted to see die. But not just die, I needed to see him die naked and covered in feces. Like, I wanted this motherfucker to suffer. So, major compliments to James Gunn's writing, his directing, and Chukwudi's amazing acting skill, and being able to translate that into his performance so beautifully well. the High Evolutionary in the comics is one of those Marvel antagonists. I don't even feel comfortable referring to his comic book version as a villain. He's an antagonist who just has a very ambiguous moral code. Like, you get what he's doing, kind of like Magneto. You get what he's doing. He's fighting for the betterment of living beings in the universe. He's trying to create the perfect species, mixing all the attributes of all the best species that he thinks are the best, at least, to create a society that has no war, no crime, no disease, no prejudice. But of course, his methods leave little to be desired. His bedside manner leaves little to be desired. In this movie, man, James Gunn just amplified that to the highest degree. You know, if the comic book version is at a 9, he turned him up all the way to an 11, where he is a definitive bad guy. He is more than a bad guy. He is a monster, all right? He makes Thanos look like a pussycat compared to his character, to his performance in this movie. Amazing. I learned yesterday that during the premiere screening of the movie, before the audience saw the movie, James Gunn said that he wanted to introduce him first, and so the audience got the clap for him because after they saw him in the movie, they were gonna want to beat him to death, because he's that of a despicable villain. Now, most people affected by his actions, equally as myself, because they are pet owners, and you know, they see Rocket, his friends, and the High Evolutionary's other test subjects as surrogates for, you know, the animals that they love. For me personally, it goes a little step further. Like I said, when I was a kid, I liked fantasy comics, and in my opinion, the Marvel comics of the time were a little too grounded for me. I wanted just stuff that was an escape, so that's why I gravitated towards DC Comics. DC Comics was more fantasy than Marvel, in my opinion, at the time. With a few exceptions, of course, and one of those exceptions was the Half-World comics starring Rocket Raccoon. And while to some, those comics were, you know, Looney Tunes meets Star Wars, to me, those were the safe Marvel comics where you knew that nothing bad was ever going to happen to these, you know, goofy, anthropomorphic animal characters. They were going to be fine. That whatever happened, Rocket Raccoon, Lila the Udder, Walrus, and Blackjack O'Hare were going to be fine. These comics as a kid represented to me a safe space. So to see those characters, Walrus and Blackjack, renamed Floor and Thieves, to see those characters be treated so horribly in this movie and be tortured and killed, it's like the High Evolutionary came in and disrupted that safe space. He attacked a very gentle and innocent part of my childhood directly. I know that wasn't done on purpose, but that's just my perspective as a Marvel fan for many years. So the best way I can describe the experience, the feeling, that the emotions that those scenes evoked in me, is the equivalent of somebody doing what the High Evolutionary did to Rocket and his friends to the Winnie the Pooh characters, to a very innocent and safe part of your childhood that shouldn't be corrupted or abused or mistreated. So yeah, man, like these performers, this director, this writer, and his performer, They evoke some powerful emotions in me that very few films of any kind evoke. And I can't compliment them enough. So, the big debate right now seems to be whether or not the Guardians should continue. Do we want to see another set of Guardians movies with a whole other group of Guardians? Do we want to see the Guardians, the new version of the Guardians, pop up in Avengers Secret Wars or Avengers the Kang Dynasty? Especially since there's that slate at the end of the movie that says that the legendary Star-Lord will return. In my opinion, no, I'm good. The Guardians have had an amazing run. The only other two franchises or characters that have had a run that's equal to or greater than the Guardians have had are Iron Man and Captain America. All right, the Guardians had an amazing run. Star-Lord had an amazing run. In my opinion, it's time to retire them. This is a beautiful, perfect ending. Don't fuck it up. Leave it be. Let them rest. It's over. The battle continues. They will continue fighting scum and villainy wherever they can find it in the universe. And when one Guardian is ready to retire, another great space hero will show up and take that Guardian's place, and the Guardians of the Galaxy continue in whatever way you want to imagine them to continue. The one character that I definitely want to see again is Adam Warlock. I would love to see more of Adam Warlock and see that character develop and become the current version of Adam Warlock. I want to see more of Will Poulter playing this character. In my opinion, he did a fantastic job. And I want to see the evolution of that character. Before I forget, I also really, really, really want to compliment Linda Cardellini, who voiced Lila the Udder in the movie. Most of you already know, Linda Cardellini also plays Laura Barton, Hawkeye's wife, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And a lot of people were questioning, like, why did they get her? She already has a role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, two reasons. One, she's an amazing voiceover actor. My favorite example is her performance as Wendy on Gravity Falls. Also, the second reason is that James Gunn worked with her in Scooby-Doo 2, where she played Velma and did a kick-ass job. So, no, I am not surprised that she was chosen to voice Lila, such a pivotal character in the story. I loved it. Also, so great that they snuck in Tara Strong in Miley Cyrus's role, the floating robot head. I'm sorry, I don't know what it's called. But, couple of extraordinary voice actors. I cannot voice my pleasure enough. So, those are my thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I will say that it is beyond the shadow of a doubt one of the top 2 trilogies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far. It's Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain America. Those two. As far as which one's better than the other, I think, for me at least, it's a matter of mood and taste. But they're both extraordinary trilogies that caught us completely by surprise. I am satisfied, and I am 100% okay with them retiring those characters, Captain America and the Guardians. Again, would love to see Adam Warlock again. So where does it rank in my favorite Marvel movies? I would say Captain America Civil War, the first Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and then Avengers Infinity War. Those are my top 4 now. There you go. So, before I close this out, I just want to thank everybody involved with the Guardians franchise. Uh, this has been one hell of a ride. This was Marsha's favorite Marvel franchise. She absolutely loved the Guardians of the Galaxy, which was ironic because she didn't want to watch the first movie. She didn't go with me to the movie theater to see it. She saw it when I got it on DVD and instantly became enamored with the franchise. She collected so much of the merchandise, and Gamora was her favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe character. So special thanks to James Gunn, Sean Gunn, Michael Rooker, Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Vin Diesel, Bradley Cooper, Karen Gillan, and Palm Clementieff for giving us this amazing group of a-holes. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your ongoing support, because without you, I couldn't do what I do. And I love you guys.